Hi there. So this is a recap of a movie called Blood. It has Michelle Monaghan. I think that's how you say her name. That's the most notable person that I see in the movie. So she plays the main character. She's just getting her life together. She's going through a divorce, a recent divorce from her husband, and so she had been previously on drugs, I think, and that's a part of the reason that they got divorced. But she had been, I guess, clean and sober for the last 12 months. So in the divorce, her husband gets the house, and she said she was fine with it because his parents had paid, to get them the house. So she moves into an old house that belonged to her aunt. So she's, I guess, moving into there and will fix it up over time. So while they were there, her kids, she has an older daughter and a younger son, they went to go fish at the lake that's nearby. It seems like it's on the property. But anyway, when they got to the spot, it's all dried up. However, their dog Pippin seemed to see something that they don't see. He's, you know, barking and kind of moaning a little bit, like this Weasley sound, like something's wrong. And he runs off into the spot where the lake was. It's all mushy, like muddy kind of, and there's a tree in the middle of it. So he runs in there. They run after him, try to pull him out. And so the older child, Tyler, was like, okay, we need to get out of there. So once they get out, they went back home. Shortly after that, Pippin, the dog, runs away. And so the son is really sad about this, and he wants to look for the dog, but of course, when it comes nighttime or whatever, it's not safe to be out. So he's mad at his mom because he feels like it's because he got the dog from his dad, that the mom doesn't want to look for the dog. But of course, he can't just go out any hours of the day looking for the dog. So anyway, shortly after that, I'm not quite sure of the time frame, maybe a day or two, so the dog returns. He's looking out the window and he sees the dog, and he runs out towards the dog, but the dog is not, like, how when the dog comes back home and you run out and the dog's running. The dog is just standing there towards the edge of the property where the trees are, and it's just looking. When they finally pan to the dog, it's got these luminescent eyes, like almost like glow in the dark, but more like orangish kind of, so something is wrong with the dog. So anyway, he's calling the dog, and the dog is just standing there. And then when he gets, his mom is like, come on, step back, and the dog attacks him, grabbing onto his leg, and then bites him on his neck, and he's hanging on. The mom's trying to get the dog off of him, and then she finally, after a while, gets a hold of looks like a dog bowl, and bashes the dog's head in to get him off the dog, get the dog off of him. So they ended up having to take the son to the hospital. I don't know why the name of the son is just eluding me right now. So anyway, so they get him. He's bleeding profusely out his neck, and his legs bloody from being bitten up by the dog. And of course, the ex-husband's like, I blame this on you. This is all on you. You shouldn't have moved them out there. And what were you doing? So while they're there, they had to give him a blood transfusion, and at one point he was just having a seizure and foaming at the mouth, and his blood pressure was really dropping. So while he seemed to have been sleeping at one point, she stepped outside to make a phone call, and then she finally turns around and see that he had grabbed the bag of blood because he was getting a transfusion and started drinking it. And she's like, oh my goodness, what are you doing? What are you doing? So then when the machines start going off, of course, she hides the fact that he was drinking the blood, and the doctor comes in and was like, oh, he's doing so much better, as far as his vitals. So she realizes that he needs blood. So from there, she starts to get blood from the hospital. So, she realizes something's not quite right with him, but she doesn't want the doctors to know. So she starts stealing blood, and then, of course, after a while, the hospital realizes that, blood's missing. They didn't realize it was her because they felt like somebody was stealing plasma. So now they're in high lockdown, so she can't really get in there to get the blood. So then she decides to get animal blood, get some animals and drain them. Of course, he has a bad reaction to that. And so now she realizes he needs human blood. So she starts to get blood from her own self, but that's causing her, because she's draining so much blood, she's really tired. She's mentally, cognitively not really there. She's really out of it most of the times, but of course that's the sacrifice she's making, to try to keep him alive or keep him from, convulsing again and getting all weird. But over time, though, it doesn't seem like that would help. So eventually, there's this lady who's sick. She's terminal with, I think, thyroid cancer. And so while she was out of it, he got some of her blood to bring home for him, which I thought that since she's terminal, her blood would be poisonous, or her son would have some kind of reaction to this. But he seemed to have been doing okay. So then she decides, because this lady is terminal, she doesn't have any family, then she's going to kidnap her, and bring her home so she'll be the source of blood for her son. So, of course, that's what she did, and she had her in the basement. And then after a while, somebody reported her missing, and so the police showed up. They didn't really search the house that much because they came and asked her a few questions and then left. Meanwhile, the lady is in the basement. So the lady had attempted to escape. They had, altercation because of that. And then shortly after that, the lady had escaped, which the way the lady escaped was because she had her on a bed, and the railings on the bed, she was able to, while they were out, they went on an outing with her ex-husband. She banged against the railing, and then it broke, which I thought was like weird because this lady's terminal. The amount of strength that she has is not commensurate with her condition. But anyway, and then she went up to the top of the stairs from the basement. She banged herself against the door and got it open. I'm like, come on now, she's terminal. There's no way she's that strong. So I'm like, okay. So then when they got home, they realized that the basement door was open. So they knew that she's either in the house or has escaped. So they're running and looking for her. She is running off into the woods, and then right at some point on the property, there's a fence, and with the little burrs in it. I don't know what you call that kind of fence. Okay, but anyway, she ran into it, and those little spiky things on it rammed into her neck, and so she was just hung up there. And so here comes the son, and he attacks her. Well, we didn't really see the attack, but when the mom finally came up on the location where the lady was, he was like going at her in her neck and stuff. And he was like, when he looks up, his eyes are black and his top teeth are yellow looking. And he's like making weird noises like, like a snake or something like that, I was like, come on. He was just fine prior to that. Of course, he was hungry and needed blood, but for him to change that fast, I was like, okay, isn't this supposed to be a gradual change where he's morphing into something else, but within a matter of hours, there's just this drastic change in him. And so she ended up having to like get rid of her body, bury her body. And so it just progressed where now he's like, oh, he needs the blood warm. So then she has to continually drain herself of blood to keep him afloat. And of course, she's coming off as though she's on drugs because her arms, her ex-husband noticed that her arms all, needle marked. Of course, she's all sleepy and drained all the time. So now he's worried. Not to mention that, the doctors at the hospital were wanting him to bring her back because she's saying he's okay, but they don't understand why he would be okay all of a sudden. And they wanted to follow up on it, and she's not bringing him back in. Meanwhile, the school is asking about him when he returned to school. So now child services is involved now, coming to her house, wanting to talk to the parents because he hasn't been in school. So the ex-husband came and got the children. And so while they're over there, the older sister, Tyler, felt like it had something to do with the tree that was in, where the former lake was. So she got matches and lighter, and she was going to burn the tree down or something to that effect. But when they got there, on their way there, the brother attacked her, and she had to drop the bag and running. They ended up going to by where the lake was. At the same time, the mom realized when the ex-husband came over saying that they were missing, she figured out that that had to have been where they went. And so she got there just in the nick of time when the brother was attacking the sister. He was just about to bite her in her neck because he needed blood. And so she held on to him and told him to calm down, calm down. And so after a while of her holding him down, he ended up being suffocated in the mud. When she finally looked down, his head was completely submerged in the mud, and that's how he ended up dying. So in the end, we see where they said it was accidental. It was ruled accidental, and then the ex-husband got full custody of the remaining child. So the movie ended with her burning the tree. But I was like, okay, I know there's something sinister about the tree or the location where the lake was, but did I miss it? What exactly it was that was going on with the tree? Because I feel like that wasn't resolved as far as what's happening with the tree. Why did the dog turn, and why was he turning into something? And then when they burned the tree, wasn't that supposed to do something? I don't know. I didn't get the ending. So if you watch this one, let me know what I'm missing. It was an okay movie up to the point of the ending. I didn't get the ending. I feel like things were left unresolved, and maybe that was on purpose, but I kind of missed the point. But let me know what you think of this movie. If you did check it out, let me know your thoughts in the comments.